Well, I was informed by a former classmate, someone who I haven't been in touch with very frequently, that he was nominating me. It was Dr. Gene D'Angelo, and out of the blue he emailed me and said, "I've nominated you for this award." And then he sent me his nomination letter, which it was a good thing I was all alone in my office when I received this, because I was really very moved and humbled. I told him when I thanked him that I would like to know this person that he had nominated, because it didn't even feel like me. It was just such a beautifully crafted letter. So that someone who wasn't a member of my family and someone who was not, someone I was in touch with very often had nominated me meant even more, because I think there was no motive, there was no provocation, and it doubled my honor at being nominated. I never thought I would actually be awarded this honor, though. That came later. It's really amazing to be in such esteemed company. And I know that there are scores of people who probably are more worthy of this by virtue of their accomplishments since they left Central. To be in a company of Rob Pasquale and Teresa Reha and Gene D'Angelo and some of the others, Bob Butler, these are amazing people, and their impact on their community and on their church, on their lives, their families' lives, is just amazing. I'm really very, if humility is one of the things that is a criteria for this award, then I can tell you I do feel humbled by this honor. I love Greensburg Central Catholic. It's where I grew up. It's where I came in as a little girl, and I left as a young woman with confidence and with a commitment to learning that has kept me in education all my life. So to be able to be recognized by this institution is really something I wouldn't have dared dream about. Well, as a member of faculty and administration in higher education, I think we, in particular, we feel the need to be part of a community. A church community has always been part of my life, but even in the broader community, there are needs for people to share some of their talents and some of their skills, and you have to answer that call. You can't just think about yourself and your career and even just your family, because there are many, many needs in our community, and we all respond in small and in great ways when we are called upon. I think that's one of the messages that Central taught us. We always did mission work when we were here. We always were very involved in food drives, in clothing drives. This was something that was taught to us. This is something that we learned by doing. And then I continued in my adult life the way I had learned to be part of a community. When you volunteer to be part of a faith-based initiative, whatever it is, whether it's your church or the Catholic school system, you are strengthening that which you believe in. When you are part of strengthening something that you believe in, like Catholic education, which has always been important to me, I was a Catholic school student for 16 years, and sent my children to Catholic school. So to be able to be a party of strengthening that system is really a gift for the individual giver. I think I get more when I feel that I am using my talents to strengthen Catholic education than in the return. I always feel honored to be asked, and I think it's an important thing. I think a lot of people actually are called and are so gratified to be useful in our community, especially in our Catholic community, where there are such needs. And you know, if you don't have a lot of money and you feel that you can't, you know, endow a building or endow a scholarship, that your time is valuable and the talents that you have to give back to the community are so appreciated that you find that you receive the benefit, you reap the rewards. That's why I like service activities. Well, I'm so enthusiastic about my field, about education, because I found what I love to do and what I do best. So for any young people wondering what they should do from high school on, I always advise them, find your talent, find what you do best, and that will become something that you love to do. Because, you know, when we do something well, it makes us feel good. And when you feel good with what you're doing, it's not a job, it's not employment, it's something you look forward to. So when I was a faculty member, exclusively I taught. And I did not realize how much I loved teaching. I loved to be in the classroom. I loved to be with students. I didn't realize that until I became an administrator and got pulled slowly out of the classroom. I still teach, but not as much as I used to. And I found that I missed the teaching. I had to remain a teacher all the time. So now I teach only one class a term. And when I teach on Tuesday and Thursday mornings very early. The college students don't really like very early classes, but mine are always filled because when I wake up on a Tuesday or Thursday morning, I say, well, at least today I get to teach. And that always means it's going to be a good day. Of course, my administrative work is in service of teaching. It's working with the faculty, it's solving problems for students, it's meeting parents of prospective students, it's talking to students about their own career goals and what they do best and how to achieve the kinds of credentials that will enable them to do the kind of work that they want to do. So even though it's a big picture, I can honestly say that the trick here, the secret, if you will, is in finding what you love and being able to do it every day, because then you can excel and you can. When I started teaching, I was not a great teacher. I loved it, but I knew where the flaws were. I think I've become, if not great, then a very, very good teacher. And it's taken a lot of years. So for young people, I might say, look, if you think you're good, then you need to aim for excellent someday. You need to work toward always improving yourself and reaching some personal best for you, as if your life is a little Olympics of competition, and that great success, personal joy in what you do is going to be possible if you keep working at it. Well, I love the question of how Greensburg Central Catholic has fostered in me a respect and a love for education, because it was here, actually. I had a great grade school experience at Immaculate Conception Grade School in Irwin, Pennsylvania. That school doesn't exist anymore. It's now been part of Queen of Angels. But it wasn't until I came to Central as a teenager, against my will, by the way. I didn't want to come to Greensburg Central, my dad. I was the oldest of 5 children, I still am. And he said that I had to come here. I wanted to go to Norwin with all the other kids who were going to the public school out of our grade school. And he said simply, no, you're going to Greensburg Central. And Greensburg seemed far away from Irwin, and I didn't know anyone. And they were uniforms. That was not an altogether pleasant idea for a teenager. So I come against my will. And like a lot of teenagers, you know, no one was going to force me to make friends or enjoy the experience of being at Greensburg Central. But very quickly, I recognized here the community of learners. Most notably, I remember Sister Alexine, who has died since, and I honor her memory first and foremost by saying that she showed me how one can be a superb teacher, excellence beyond anything I could ever achieve, and a holy, holy woman. Her way of experiencing biology and also communicating a deep love of God, a deep faith in God's creations, a respect way back in the 1970s for the environment, for the creation of our trees, of every living thing, awed me. Even in my reluctant 13 or 14-year-old self, I was fortunate to have her as one of my first teachers, and I think of her often. I hope that my own teaching reflects some of her holiness. Sister Rita Yasted was an English teacher I had as a sophomore. Sister Rita told us that each and every one of us had a great work of art in us. That was amazing. A great work of art in us. What we must have looked like a ragtag bunch of teenagers. And yet, I believed her. I believed that inside me somewhere was a great work of art, and all I had to do was find out what it was and somehow get it out. And that was such an inspiring message to me. She was such a fabulous teacher. She still is. She's a professor at La Roche College. And she inspired me. She inspired me to find my work of art. What was it going to be? Ed Egan in history, John Carosella in English and in theater, these Earl McGonigal in music. These were people who have stuck with me. Their names, their faces are still very close to my heart. And when I go in the classroom, in some sense, I bring them all with me. They showed me what it was like to be a great teacher, to love my students, to be free enough to be myself in the classroom, to laugh with students. I remember Sister Rita laughing about her love for Toulouse-Lautrec, who I didn't even know who that was. It's just a memory that sticks with me. Or Sister Alexine stopping in the middle of a lecture and saying, "Boys and girls, aren't God's creations marvelous?" And all this time later, I tried to have that same relationship with my students, and it all started at Greensburg Central Catholic. Well, sure. I mean, when I came to Greensburg Central, we were expected to have an academic plan. We were formed to think that we had to become people who would have certain characteristics, who would be good Catholics, who would be good parents, who would fulfill our vocations, whether that was a religious vocation or a vocation of marriage or single life, in a way that reflected who we were as Centurions. This was something that was both overt and something that was perhaps more subtle at different times. But this was an expectation. We were formed to be good citizens, good Catholic citizens in our community. And how that happened, I'm not exactly sure. We were shown images of good citizens in our faculty, in our administrators. Our parents obviously had a desire for us to become useful and productive and giving people, in that they separated us from other students and sacrificed to bring us here. But it was certainly worth it. It was so worth it to me and my husband Joe, also a graduate of Greensburg Central Catholic, that we sent all 4 of our children here with the thought that the sacrifice pays off. It pays off in subtle ways, and it pays off in very visible ways in the kinds of people they have become. And I can tell you that our investment has been extremely worth it, as many, many others can attest. Well, the experience was not only formative for me and the way I have lived my life, but I have watched many, many others who have mirrored the Greensburg Central ideal of citizenship and an honorable life as a result of being here. Some of our friends, George Butler is a good friend, and of course Jean D'Angelo and some others. My own children, my brothers, and my sister are also Greensburg Central Catholic alums. And I think that when you meet someone from Central, even if you did not go to school with them, even if you were miles apart for many, many years, when you meet them with an idea of, you know where they've come from, you know what made them, you know what drives them, and the ways that they determine what's important to them. And this has been a universal experience. I just ran into somebody that I went to school with for the very first time, I shouldn't say how many years, of course, that would be giving away too much. But this young man was in the Central Band with me, and his daughter is going to St. Vincent. So that's how I met him and his wife. And we began to talk about our experiences and tell each other, I've seen this person, well, I've seen this person, and catch up a bit. And when we talked about our children, when we talked about our marriages, there was, I noticed, there was a sense of knowing in shorthand what we were talking about, the kinds of lives that we have built, what's important to us, what we measure as success. I don't think either of us is wealthy, but we both said, haven't we had great success? Did you ever think that you'd be where you are? And I said, no, did you? And he said, no, I'm so blessed. And I said, I'm blessed too. I carry with me as I go forth initially to college. I went to St. Mary's College at Notre Dame, Indiana, a women's college. I carried with me, first of all, an expectation that all the teachers I would meet henceforth would be teachers who loved their students. And for the most part in my college, I did have teachers who loved their students. In graduate school, it was a little bit different. But my expectations were that teachers were people who had a vocation to be giving, to be people who cared very deeply about whether or not their students were learning and how they were learning, and not just that learning piece, but also were they happy? Were they okay? I mean, I can't tell you how many times teachers here at Central would say, how are you today? And there were more than just a few times when I had a good cry with a teacher over one thing or another. I can't even remember, but I do remember crying on somebody's shoulder, and just the generosity of time that was shown to me. My expectation was that that was the way the world would be. If there was any disillusionment in my future after I left Central, it was to learn that not everybody is like that. Not everybody loves what they do. Not everybody is kind, and not everybody thinks of others first. And that was a rude awakening, if you will, to get out into the world a little bit. But I think that what I had that sustained me through any kind of rough waters that I had with others along the way was this sense that inside myself, with Sister Rita's great work of art, I could overcome difficulties. I could sustain myself through difficult times. That's what I took with me the most. Everybody's life has some difficulties. And in my brother Joe, for instance, a Central grad, died suddenly about 6 years ago, and that was one of the hardest things that my family has dealt with. But the faith and the way to live through adversity that I learned here from these people, from all the people who were here, not just my faculty, but also my fellow students, was how we were able to get through our tough times. Oh, coming back to Central as a parent, well, I would have these strange moments where I would be walking in the hall and slip into thinking that I was still a student. And when people would say to me, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Spore," "Yes, Dr. Spore," it would almost take me aback. It was a very funny experience. My kids, of course, feel as if Central is their school, and I had to keep reminding him that this school is first my school and my husband's school. But it was just a joy to come back. When I walk through the halls, I have to look down and make sure I don't have my uniform skirt on, and I still see familiar faces. So it's always a place that feels like coming home when I come to Greensburg Central Catholic. Well, Catholic education is essentially very different from public education. That is to say, it is not necessarily academically better. I think in many cases it is academically better, but let's just, for the moment, say that it is equally as excellent as what one might find at a good public school. Certainly, the mind, the intellect of the individual can be nurtured anywhere, and should be. The same thing with the physical. The physical being, the student's physical life should be nurtured equally well in a public or a Catholic institution. But there's one essential piece of us that is spiritual. And the public schools, or even the private non-religious schools, have a very challenging time addressing the spiritual. At a Catholic institution, we have the advantage of nurturing the spiritual, the third piece of our individuality. I feel today that young people are yearning to talk about their spiritual life, to question, to explore the place of God in their lives, the need for religion as solace, as a means of hope, as a community of people who feel strongly about something that is beyond us, more than us. The young people that I meet with are very much interested in exploring those issues. And so in nurturing not just the intellect and the physical, but also the spiritual dimension of young people, Catholic schools certainly have a value added. It's a very subtle value that sometimes the greater community outside of Greensburg Central and other institutions have a difficult time addressing. We're a society that has different levels of comfort when we talk about religion and faith. But when you are within the walls of a Catholic institution, you can explore those issues of faith. When you practice meditation with Mary Jo Brecht, when you experience someone like Sister Alexine or Sister Mary Helen and their holiness, and the fact that they are also scientists, they are holy scientists. This is something that no public institution can match. That is very important for a teenager to be able to express doubt, faith, to discuss the joys of praying, the need for prayer in our lives. These are all value-added things that Catholic education does and does very, very well. We turn to religion in tough times. 9/11 taught us that, different tragedies that occur, we flock to our churches. When you are within a Catholic school system, you don't have to flock anywhere. You are embraced by people who are comfortable talking about faith and allowing you to explore how your spirituality can grow along with your physical and your intellectual self. As a product of Catholic education, Greensburg Central Catholic, as a parent, a mother of 4 children who went through Catholic school, including Greensburg Central Catholic, who also on their own decided to go to Catholic colleges as a response to being at Greensburg Central Catholic, and also as a faculty member and a dean at St. Vincent College, another Catholic institution. I can tell you that my desire to be part of Catholic education, and perhaps if you're listening to this and you're wondering or you're questioning, should I send my children to a Catholic school, to Greensburg Central, perhaps my experience will help you to ascertain that Catholic education is worth any sacrifice. It is a gift that you don't realize for years. I mean, it's only now that I begin to put in perspective what Catholic education has given me and the impact it has had on my life, on my ability to build a strong marriage, raise beautiful, successful children, to give back to my community, to remain part of Catholic education. There is never a mistake in realizing that Catholic education and its benefits are gifts that we give to others, and in giving them to others, that we give back to ourselves. I'm very honored by this award. I feel as if words are inadequate, and as a teacher, I use words all the time. I'm an English teacher, and so I'm always, I guess I could say I'm seldom at a loss for words, but this has me at a loss for words. If I could make one definitive statement, I would say that I'm extremely proud that Greensburg Central Catholic continues to thrive in a community surrounded by very, very good public schools, where parents have a lot of options, where they have beautiful facilities that are sometimes much closer to their homes than Greensburg Central, and still they choose to send their children here because they recognize what benefits can be gained by their sacrifice. And I want to applaud all of the parents who have made that choice, both before me and after me, in recognizing the gift that is Greensburg Central Catholic in our community. I pray for Greensburg Central's continued success I pray for its administrators and teachers, and I pray for its students who someday will sit where I sit and reap the benefits of all the good people who formed me and who struggled, who forced me to see what I could be. Thank you all.